What's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Street Photography Tips, episode number 2. And before I get started with that, really quick, I just want to apologize for my lack of activity on YouTube as well as like social media, Instagram and stuff like that. On March 15th, 2018, my grandfather, Jose Paragas, actually passed away. And so lately I've just been being human, dealing with it and also helping my mom out, my sister, planning for all of the arrangements and stuff. So, after this week, these next couple weeks pass and everything gets over, I'm going to be hitting it hard and coming back to YouTube hard again. But folks, just want to apologize one more time just for not being so active on here and, just not fulfilling all of the questions and promises that I had for you guys originally. All right, you guys, now today's topic of discussion is going to be talking about the relation between reflections and symmetry. Now, before we go ahead and jump right into this stuff, you got to know that reflections and symmetry pretty much go hand in hand. So what I want to do really quick is start off by giving you guys a quick little definition of each so that we can better understand it. All right, so here's the definition for reflection: the throwing back by a body or surface of light, heat, or sound without absorbing it. So pretty much reflection is just something bouncing something else off. It could be in water, it could be in a mirror, but it doesn't completely absorb it. Now let's go ahead and look at symmetry. The definition for symmetry is the quality of being made up of exactly similar parts facing each other or around an axis. Now think about that really quick. Reflections make symmetry, and symmetry is just an end result of reflections. A lot of the time it could be, right? And so you got to keep that in your mind as we move through, because now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look over some examples of reflection and symmetry in photography. Now, one of the earliest forms of reflection and symmetry we've ever seen in photography is through landscape photography. Landscape photography, I feel like, pretty much did it first. Now, here's an image of Ansel Adams' famous picture over McGowan Peak. And basically, it's a simple image. You see a lot of this in landscape photography nowadays. There's a lake and then there's a mountain, and the mountain is reflecting straight off of this lake right here. Now, the reason why reflections and symmetry work, first of all, is because the human eye is always drawn to equals, always drawn to balance. And so when you have a reflection like this, you're going to go ahead and see that they look pretty much balanced and equal because they're just reflecting off of each other. Therefore, the human eye is going to learn to accept it a little bit more than something that is odd. So, for example, let's go ahead and take a picture of a bunch of cars lined up on a street. If there are 10 cars perfectly lined up on the street, that image is going to be more appealing to you than an image of 7 cars in the street. And that's because 7 cars is an odd number. It's not going to perfectly fit within the frame and not going to have a lot of balance. And like we said, the human eye accepts balance and it knows balance more than anything else. So that's why reflections and symmetry work together. Now, looking at Ansel's image here, you can see that once again, like we talked about, he uses this right here as the main point of interest. But what he's doing is he's using all of that and he's reflecting it off the water. And for example, let's say you split that right in half, or let's go ahead and just turn this over. You can see it pretty much just looks like a mirror effect, just right down the center. It looks pretty much the exact same. And so that's why this works in photography, because like we said, our eyes are used to it. Now, landscape photographers weren't the only people to use reflections and symmetry in their photography. People like Henri Cartier-Bresson, who's a street photographer, used it in their own photography. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at this famous image here of the jumping man. And obviously, you're going to go ahead and right off the bat see that there is a shadow right here, right? This little shadow inside of the water. And that shadow is basically just the reflection off of the water. Now, I went ahead and just drew some little arrows and stuff to show you guys exactly how this image works and why it works, and show you guys all the reflections and how symmetry can attract to the eye. So first things first, let me go ahead and cancel out what I just did. How do I do that? Go to Control X and cancel. There you go. All right, so the first thing you're going to notice right here is that if you split this image in half on this black line, you'll see that he is perfectly symmetrical with the shadow or the reflection of himself jumping. Let's go ahead and turn it off to the side and you can see what I'm talking about here. Like we talked about earlier, our eyes are automatically drawn to reflections, anything with balance. And so not only are we drawn to this figure right here, this man jumping, but we're also drawn to the background. And not only the background, something that I was particularly drawn to was all of this weird ladders and stuff like that on the ground. It just added this whole nother dynamic to the photo. And I think that's something that, plays a big role in street photography, telling the story of the scene, what's going on in that picture, and trying to pick apart little pieces to kind of piece together what exactly was going on when he captured his decisive moment. Another example here is of an image I took over the weekend, and kind of using reflections and symmetry inside of my head and getting inspiration from the jumping man from Bresson's work. I created this image. Now, first of all, I want to start off by saying, yes, if you didn't notice it already, this image is upside down, and I purposely want to present it that way. This is what it looks like when it's normal, when it's face up and when it's, you know, not upside down, right? And you can see I used a puddle, and you can see here there's this really nice S-looking leading line that draws this way. And so that's kind of one of the main things that I was trying to do inside of that photo, use the puddle as a leading line, but also get that reflection. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and back up and cancel that one off here and flip it back over to its original presentation. Now, what I want you guys to do really quick is to look at the photo for a second. Just look over it for another 5-10 seconds and see exactly what you're drawn to. What is your eye looking at when you first look at the photo? Couple seconds more. So I'm pretty sure when you're looking at this photo, you already know that you're looking at these two, right? The little girl, and it looks like a mom here. And that's kind of the original intention, right? So the reason why I'm pretty sure you're drawn to it is because of the reflection, first of all. Now, I'm using the reflection off of the puddle actually as the main attention zone, I guess you could say. And I'm using the sky in the original image as the background. And so, like we said, when you use reflections, it draws attention immediately. So using that in your own photography can enhance and kind of give your viewer a direct path on what you want them to look at and what you want them to see. Now, I also got really lucky here with this little building. I don't know what this building is or what it does, but it was in the background and it was pretty cool. So that also gave off a reflection and added to it. It almost looks like they're going to that building or that house. All right, so we reached the part of the video. We already talked about reflections and symmetry in photography, but now what I want to do is backtrack and give you guys some practical tips on how you can apply this stuff into your own photography. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to identify reflections. Reflections come in all different forms and shapes. The common places you can find them are in mirrors. Mirrors are a big one. Puddles, any body of water really that's still enough to get a reflection. But one of the ones that I want to talk about a lot is something that is used in street photography but isn't commonly thought of as a reflection, and that is shadows. Shadows are extremely effective, you know, as effective as puddles, waters, mirrors, and such like that, because you can find them pretty much anywhere you go. Now, one really important thing that I want to touch on using mirrors as reflections, puddles, or even shadows is the angle in which you take the photograph. Now, the photograph that you just seen of the puddle was actually my 5th attempt at taking that photo. There's actually a lot of people walking by, but these two happened to be the last of the bunch. So I went ahead and started off by shooting it at eye level, snapped it, click, and I noticed, I was like, you know what? All I really seen in that photo is, you know, their neck. It was too high of an angle. So when you use reflections, especially in puddles, you want to play with your angles. Go down and get low. The lower you get to the water or the reflection, the more of the entire scene you're going to get in that puddle as a reflection. So keep that in mind, as well as mirrors, because mirrors are really weird and they give you that, you know, reversed effect. You want to make sure that you kind of hit all angles and really look through your viewfinder and try to find the best angle and compose before you take the image. Like we talked about in the previous tip, wait and compose before you take your shot. Do that with these reflections, do that in your puddles, do that in your mirrors, and just wait for it. And once you already have that composition set, let the subject walk into the frame, just like a deer in headlights. Snap the photo. It's that easy and it's that simple, and I'm sure if you guys use all of this stuff, you will be on your way to taking good reflection photos and symmetry. Now, one of the misconceptions I feel like in street photography is that, you know, we come out with this idea that, oh, okay, so I'm gonna bring my camera out there today and I'm gonna let these pictures present themselves to me, and all I have to do is bring my camera out and just start snapping, just start taking pictures left and right. And that's kind of true, I guess you could say, but I feel like that's more of documentary photography because you're just taking pictures of what's out there. Street photography has more of an artistic blend. You're pretty much just a visual painter with a tool that can capture an image instantaneously. And so what you need to do is go out there with kind of a mindset and this arsenal of images that are already preconceived in your head before you take the photo. It's kind of like how a painter will sit in front of his canvas. The painter is not going to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to paint an image. I'm just going to start throwing, different colors and paints and stuff on there. Some of them who do abstract, yes, that's a possibility, they do that. But most of the time when they're painting portraits of people or they're painting a building, they kind of already have this preconceived image before that brush touches the canvas. And it's kind of the same thing for you guys as street photographers. You need to go out there with a mindset and preconceive an arsenal of images that have already been inside of your head. Use your intuition to compose, set your camera up, and snap that photo. And it's that simple and it's that easy, but you really got to develop your eye and think about what you're going to take before you go out there and make your art. So folks, that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's street photography tips number 2 about the relation between reflections and symmetry. I know we dove a little bit in depth here today, but I'm super juiced about this stuff and I'm super happy. And the main goal for this series, I guess you could say, is to help you guys grow as photographers and to also help myself grow because, like I said before, I'm one of those people who learn as I regurgitate the information as I teach it. So just want to thank you guys, first of all, for watching, also for helping me out. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions on how we can make these videos better, or if you guys want to, talk or see a particular topic of discussion for the next one, feel free to comment down below and let me know what's up. Folks, thank you guys again. We hit 12,500 subscribers here on YouTube, and there is going to be a giveaway soon. Just give me some time. I'm trying to rack up all of these cool prizes for you guys, and then it'll be up. So thank you for watching another KingJvpes video. And as always, even though I'm holding a Nikon, right? Minolta gang. Whoosh! Ha!